All right, you're watching CNN. I'm Brooke Baldwin. We're coming on these pictures. Guys, just tell me in my ear if these are actually live pictures out of St. Louis. I'm assuming they are. Yes, they are. These are live pictures. And what we're looking at here, I know it's sort of difficult to follow this, but there are people currently being arrested outside of this courthouse. But let me just step back. Context. Not too far away from St. Louis, you have the city of Ferguson, Missouri. And just a year ago, that was when the unarmed African-American teenager Michael Brown was shot and killed by that police officer, Darren Wilson. Darren Wilson was not indicted in that whole case, but it was certainly a situation that sparked massive protests. The Black Lives Matter protest really sparked there, in and of itself becoming its own sort of civil rights movement. So a lot of people have been in Ferguson for the 1 year honoring Michael Brown's death and also calling to action how they feel about community police relations. So now we're seeing these arrests one day after all these people gathering, a night of really some of it turned violent in Ferguson. I have Ryan Riley with me on the phone. He is a justice reporter for Huffington Post. And so, Ryan, if you can hear me, can you tell me, first of all, where exactly you are as we're looking at these pictures of, it looks like quite a crowd gathered outside the courthouse there?
Yeah, we're at the federal courthouse, which also houses the U.S. Attorney's Office, which, of course, teamed up with the Justice Department, the Civil Rights Division there, in investigating the St. Louis County Police, the Ferguson Police Department, and some of the practices that they had there, finding, evidence of racist emails, finding evidence of essentially a court system that was designed to take money out of people's pockets rather than bring about public safety. So what we had here is we had a number of demonstrators who hopped over to the fence, and sort of some of them sat in. There were some chanting, there were songs, there was drums, and at first the response was from the police officers who actually guard, Federal Protective Service officers, court security, that sort of thing, who were responding to this. And then at some point we saw a large, massive group of police officers from the city move in, and that's when the arrest started taking place. And as people went through and were being processed, and we had the St. Louis police chief actually on the scene here. And at one point, we had some reporters had received permission to go past the fence from court security and sort of get a better view. But then when the police chief showed up, he asked us to leave, at which point we did. So now we had a number of people, I would say dozens would be fair to say, who have been taken into custody. And it's unclear, how long they'll be in custody and when, who exactly they'll be facing charges from, because there's potential here, since this is federal court property, that we'll be seeing some sort of federal misdemeanor charge.
Right, that's right. So dozens in custody by your, eyeball estimate. Let me back up a second. When you say they hop the fence, what do you mean?
Mm-hmm. So, security gate here, sort of the thing that you'd see, that extra level of security outside the White House, that they have very similar gates to that, and people just sort of went over them and, sat in this area right immediately in front of the courthouse here. So, we had a number of people who were sitting in, and some were standing up, and they had hands up at one point, and everyone was sort of taken into custody.
Got it. So can you tell me, I don't know how long you've been there on the ground among some of these people, but who are they? Are they folks who've come in from out of town? Is this some of the similar protesters who were in Ferguson last night? And what exactly are they saying?
I think this is more of a mix. I think these are like the people who showed up to this sort of event are protesters. I mean, these are all protesters. You're not going to have any mixed in. I think what we've seen in the past couple of nights is sort of just kids who maybe were mixed in with the crowd, not sort of dedicated protesters like we've seen here. This is a protest crowd. It's a mix of both a lot of people locally and, of course, people who saw what happened in Ferguson last August and came here to bear witness to that and become part of this movement that's obviously brought a bunch of change, I think, in the country over the past year.
So the fact that they're being arrested, the fact that they are hopping over the security fence, what sort of statement do you think they're trying to make? What is their message?
As two of the most prominent protesters, Netta and DeRay, this is the first time they've been arrested. And, they've been doing this for a year, and this is the first time they've been taken into custody. So I think, I didn't get a chance to speak with them really before any of this took place, but this is obviously an organized action, and I think they knew that arrest was certainly a risk to be taken. And, so I think that this is, certainly something that they expected could happen in this situation. And that's it. exactly what did.
I really appreciate you jumping on the phone. Ryan Riley, the justice reporter for the Huffington Post, reporting that dozens of people have now been taken into custody there at the federal courthouse in St. Louis. Ryan, thank you so much. Let's stay in close contact with you as we see on the left side of your screen someone else being handcuffed and taken away. Let's move on for now.
My thoughts are once again with the people of Ferguson as they mark this painful anniversary. And in light of the continuing violence that we saw last night, violence has no place in our streets, and we should all be working for peace and justice there and everywhere in our country.
So that was Hillary Clinton just a few moments ago there in New Hampshire. I have Sarah Seidner standing by for us now in Ferguson, Missouri. In the last couple of minutes of our show, Sarah, I think it's important for people who are just tuning in. Again, this is the 1 year, as Hillary Clinton was alluding to, the 1 year since Michael Brown was shot and killed right around where you are. And not too far from where you are, we've been learning of these arrests happening just outside of the St. Louis courthouse. Let's start there. Tell me what you know about what's happening in St. Louis.
We're told that there are dozens of people that were arrested, and we knew this would happen because they had planned to do civil disobedience. It was part of the protest. Monday was going to be that day, and indeed it has been. We know that some very high-profile people have been arrested in the name of justice, they say, including Dr. Cornel West, a thinker, author, and someone who has been a very big figure in the civil rights movement, including this latest one, really talking about how young people have created this. But what happened last night was something that the protesters did not appreciate, and that was that there was a shooting, not one, but three. One that started, according to police, between someone down away from the protesters who had nothing to do with the protesters, but the police said they were criminals that started shooting. And then you had successive shootouts. One was the police with one of the suspects, and then after that, another shooting on Canfield Drive. That is the place where Michael Brown was shot and killed by police officer Darren Wilson, who was later exonerated in that case by the DOJ and a grand jury. This has definitely been a tense time, but protesters say, look, that is not a part of our movement. Our part of our movement is to try to get justice, and they get frustrated every time there's a violent act that is done in their name. Brooke?
We will stay in close contact with you. I know we'll watch for your reporting through the evening here on CNN. Sarah Seidner, thank you so much, and we'll be watching what happens in St. Louis.
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism.